Welcome.
to um, to use any way that it needs to be used. And so that's what I want you to know. But as far as all of that stuff, it's not on you. It is on me, and I carry that burden. And part of it is connecting is moving that burden forward, moving you through the next things that you need to do in your life, which are critical. Future.
Well, during those times, I mean, what was your feeling, knowing that, well, my son is about to, he should be getting his license right now, or, he should be dating, or, he should be going to prom, or even with the graduation, because I know deep down in my heart, somebody or some way that you knew that I was graduating, the day that I graduated. It's many, mutual friends and all of that, you know, what was your process or mindset, knowing that, you were missing out, on those moments, or that you weren't there?
So during that course of that time, my focus was more worldly. The word I would use, it was going through the course of developing a career, and really not, you know, paying attention to some of the things that I should have been paying attention to. That's what I would tell you, that because those moments are moments that I'm certain I would have been trying to remember back. I'm certain I would have been able to attend and get to, and wasn't able to do that. So, but did it detract from my love and care for you? Absolutely not. It was an action not taken. And as a father, there are many actions not taken sometimes, father or mother, but the reality of it is that those are ones that I should have taken part in, and the fact that I didn't, again, is a burden that I have to carry. And whether or not, how did it not happen back then, or how did it supposed to happen, I can't go back to that and say there's something that stopped, there was a wall in the way. There was nothing there in the way to stop me from being there. That was a moment that I should have went on through and should have done that. So what I'm trying to tell you, son, that's no excuse. I've never made one, and I'm not gonna make one, moving forward. So I want to say to you that I apologize for not being there for those moments and enduring the great son that I have and missing that time frame right there. And that's my guilt, my rub, because I'm like, God has blessed me with a great child. Unbelievable that we weren't able to engage those moments together, but there are future moments ahead.
No, okay. Another thing for me, that was just kind of, and is, my relationship with Kayla, with my sister. I remember the first time you brought her around, at my grandma's house, and she was just running around.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember. She's bouncing around, and me and her, it's just like she knew who I was, and just playing around her. But I didn't see her anymore until she was 15, 16 years old, or 14 years old, on up in age, and that kind of, I feel like that kind of just really messed with me and her relationship. It didn't allow us a chance to get to know each other, in depth, and really to have our sisterly brother bond, that we should have. And that it was times that I would often wonder, like, man, what does my sister look like? Or what is she doing? Just wondering, because the only image that I had in my mind was this little girl, bumping around, and whatnot like that. So, I just I was just like, man, what kind of, it was just a hard thing for me to understand, like, what kind of father would, it's one thing for you not to be here for me, but then it's another thing, when your actions is basically affecting our relationship. So that was one of the things that kind of really, really, another thing that kind of just stayed with me and resonated with me, a lot. It just would just pop up in my mind from time to time.
Well, I think that goes in whole with the whole that 12 to 19 time frame. There just wasn't enough contact. I mean, I could make up 900 different reasons why, but I've always told you, son, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to start now. And the reality of it is that we didn't make enough contact, and none of it's your fault. None of it's Raquela's fault. None of it's your mother's fault. It's my fault. And that's part of the process that any parent has to do, get an understanding, whether it's a father or a mother, that it's never the kid's fault, never the kid's situation. We as parents has got to make those things happen. And one of the things that I'm fortunate to have is that you're right. Kayla and you connection should have been a lot more. You had a lot to give to Kayla. Kayla had a lot to give to you. But the reality of it is that didn't get a chance to grow the way we would like it to grow. So that's why I say no excuse. That should have happened more often. And as I said, moving forward, we'll continue the relationship. You guys tighten it up even more and more.
Yeah. Okay. There's so much stuff, man. I'm trying to.
Yeah, I want
Yeah,
you to get it all out. So that all of you know, I love my son. I love the fact that he's honest. And as a father, any fathers that's out there listening to me, you need to have this conversation just like this with your child if you haven't been there the whole time. And I'm painting for you to do that. Go ahead, son.
Yeah. Well, after that, situation, and I think I just kind of just got to a point that, the older I got, and just, looking at the situation or whatnot, then you got to kind of see it from my perspective too. I had constant reminders of you, whether it was Willie or, Miss Lulabelle, or, it was, Gordo's a small town, real small town. So everybody kind of knows everybody. So, as I was growing up, it was, man, you really starting to look like your dad, or, this or whatnot. But, that was one of the things that really aggravated me the most, because I remember before we actually started talking again or whatnot, but I remember getting ready for college, and it was like my first semester or whatever. And I remember actually meeting a girl, and we got to talking, and, we exchanged numbers or whatever. And, she's like, where you from? I was like, Gordo. She's like, yeah. And she's like, I know some people from Gordo, and she named a couple of people, and I knew them. I was like, yeah, I know them, that's a homeboy of mine, or, that's such and such or whatever. So anyway, she went about her way, I went about mine, and later on that evening she called me, and we kind of got to talking about it again. And come to find out, we were actually cousins.
Really?
Yeah, we were actually cousins. And, so we talked about it for a little while, and, she was asking me about different people, and she was asking me about all these people on your side that I didn't know, and, we sat there and just talked about that or whatever for a minute. And, after that, we, of course, had a cousin relationship,
Mm-hmm.
but that situation, man, it really messed with my mind, because it got to a place, and it just made me think about, like, wow, my father hasn't been present in my life. I don't even really know who I'm kin to. What if there was somebody else that I met, or somebody else that was looking at me, or whatever the case may have been, that I'm kin to, and I had no idea. And it's just really, really, messed with my mind, because I was like, man, that's a whole family, outside of a couple people, Ed and a couple more, that I never knew, or that I, don't know, and even times when I would be out or something like that, my grandmother may say, that's such and such, that's your cousin, or my mom would say, that's such and such, that's your cousin, It always felt for me kind of awkward. It kind of made me feel like, that I was basically like an outcast, so to speak, because, I didn't know these people, I didn't go to their family reunions, or I wasn't a part of any of, those family functions. The only family that I knew was, you know, my mother's side of the family. I didn't know, you know, those people, you know, except for the ones, of course, that I went to school with, Kendall and, you know, those guys or whatever, you know, Kurt Ghost and his boys and stuff like that. But, you know, outside of that, you know, that was, you know, really it, you know, and, you know, that kind of just really, really, you know, messed with my mind because I was like, man, you know, now I have to ask extra questions, so you know, dig a little bit deeper, you know, to make sure that I don't make this mistake, you know. And it just made me, you know, look at the situation like, man, as a father, like I would never put my child in that position, you know. I would never want them to lack this kind of understanding or whatnot, and you know, for you to do it to me just kind of really put me in a place of like, man, like I just okay, this is it. Yeah, I just really don't want to have anything to do with this guy, like, at all.
Well, I think one of the things, first of all, I give you something on this. You always have trouble knowing all your cousins, okay? I mean, as people,
That's true.
My dad got a brother in Arizona that I've only met twice, so that always happened. But I think that all of that bottle there, Marcus, goes to that 12 to 19 time frame. You're right, Gardner's a small town, and you can run into some people. Tuscaloosa, you want to lap that in there as well. All those small towns, and that you're going to run into people that you should have known. There's no question about that. And I think, though, that all of it is balling in the same place as far as the burden is on me, son. I think part of the problem that you did along the way is that you took some of the burden and said, is there something wrong with me? Is there something going on there? Or did I do something? Or, you know, something like that in your head. And that was never the case. All of this burden is on me because as the father, I'm the one that's guiding the relationship. I'm the one that should be doing the introductions. I'm the one that be prepping you for sports and that type of thing. And those moments were missed. So I think that to answer that question specifically, I think that that while that moment was missed, fortunately that you were in a situation where, you know, during that absence time, your mother and your support people around you helped bring you through their process as well. And I've always told you, so I'm thankful for your mom, and I'm thankful for the people around there too. During my absence, they were able to bring you to this level and get you to where you're at today. So I'm comfortable with that. Not comfortable with me not being there, but comfortable with the fact that, you know, through God's blessing, they were there for you as well.
Okay. Well, you know, that, like I say.
I got a few questions.
Uh-oh. Okay. Come on.
All right. One of the questions I have, son, as well, because like I said, a lot as a father, the burden is on the father to make these kind of things right. What was the moment where? Let's go to the connection moment just a little bit. Talk to me about when we were starting to connect. What kind of started working that process through? When did we first get together and we felt the connection coming out? And I'll talk about mine in a minute as well.
Okay. Well, let me give y'all the rundown on all of this. And we're going to finish this up on the next segment. But, you know, before we go into break, what happened was the way we actually even got back into contact with each other, because my dad was actually living in Tuscaloosa for some years. And I remember, I think I don't want to say her name because I don't want to get that wrong. But it was somebody in the Gordo community that had let me know, you know, that your dad works up at, you know, Wells Fargo in Tuscaloosa. And, you know, I remember looking at them like, I don't know where my dad is, you know. And I remember them telling me that you had been living in Tuscaloosa for like 5 years at the time or whatnot. And, you know, I just remember just being like, you know, there was another one of those situations. I was just kind of like, man, this guy's like, wow, you know. And I remember even discussing it with my mother or whatever, you know, and, you know, just it pained me to see because, you know, whether you know it or not, even your actions towards me, it affected her in a sense too. You know, it affected her. It left her with a lot of bitterness and stuff like that. That I do truly feel like, affected certain parts of her life. But overall that situation just, it was just kind of like, man, like every time I hear this guy's name, he just keep taking it to a new level. This is my daddy, but at this time I'm calling him that guy. He's taking it to a new level. But our actual initial contact came one night. I was out with my buddies, and we went to the shoe store at the McFarland Mall, and I was looking at some shoes and looking around or whatever, and I remember seeing Kelvin, and I looked, and I was like, man, I know that